M&T Bank is so honored to serve as sponsor, and we're grateful you joined us this afternoon. So across every major sports league and organization, meaningful progress is being made to increase women's representation. Consider these stats. In 2024, only 1% of NBA team presidents or CEOs were women. 20 years later, that number is now 18%. The NFL saw a 141% increase in women holding full-time coaching or football operations roles from 2020 to 2023. And in the WNBA, over 50% of leadership roles are held by women. Increasing women's leadership in sports sends a powerful message about opportunity in every industry. But there is still work to be done, and that's why today's discussion is so important. Our speakers today, all leaders from our community, will share their career journeys, challenges they've overcome, and how they see sports evolving. At M&T Bank, we believe in championing the next generation of leaders, and today represents another important step forward. I want to thank Marissa, my best friend Jesse, who's on the panel, Sarah, Jami, and Olivia for sharing their wisdom and serving as inspiration for women who work across all industries. And with that, I want to turn things over to our moderator, Amanda Ballestero, Entertainment and Promotions Coordinator for the Buffalo Bisons, to kick off today's discussion.
Thank you, Thea, and we'd like to thank our great partners at M&T Bank for sponsoring tonight's event. We've got a lot going on tonight. This is actually the second Great Women in Sports Night event that we have today. Earlier today, we had a softball clinic, our first ever softball clinic here at Salem Field, which was also presented by M&T Bank, and one of our great coaches will be on our panel tonight. And she will also be throwing her first pitch. And along with the baseball we got going on, we also have a drone show after the game. So you'll definitely want to stick around for that. We got some little surprises up our sleeves with our drone show. So to start, we have some lovely ladies here on our panel. To my left, directly to my left, we have Marissa Packard, a digital and social content coordinator for the Buffalo Bisons, as well as a former marketing and promotions intern. Next to Marissa, we have Jesse Ladoue McMullen, who is the director of marketing at New Era Cap. And then next to Jesse is Sarah Tranielli, director of athletic communications at University at Buffalo Athletics. And then we also have Jami Cohen, director of media and content with the Buffalo Sabres. And finally, last but not least, we have Olivia Kincanon, head coach of Houghton University softball, former marketing and promotions intern for the Buffalo Bisons, and former Division I softball catcher at University at Buffalo. All right, lady. Yeah, give it up for these wonderful ladies. Yeah, so just to start, we'll start with you, Marissa. Just introduce yourself and kind of tell us a little bit of your story and how you got into your positions.
Hello, everyone. I'm Marissa. I'm the digital and social content coordinator here at the Bisons. Like Amanda said, I did intern here in 2019, ironically, as a promotions intern. And I say that was probably the best internship I had because it kind of got me out of my shell and, gave me a more outgoing personality. But I'm from Buffalo, went to Lackawanna. I went to Brockport for college and I majored in sport management and minored in marketing and PR. And after college, I ended up working for the Western New York PGA for a summer. And I did everything from tournament operations, social media, marketing, and I had no idea of anything about golf. So it was definitely a learning thing for me. I don't know if I would actually go back to the golf industry, but it was fun. It was something I did. And then I, in 2022, found this job on Indeed. Actually, my mom found it and she sent it to me. And so I applied and I, had a couple interviews and I got it. So I've been here for four seasons, 3 years kind of. And yeah, I've loved it ever since. I have a really good time and it's fun.
Like Amanda said, my name is Jesse Ladoue McMullen. I'm the Director of Marketing at New Era Cap. I oversee the marketing for all of our major licenses, MLB, NBA, NFL, NHL, MLS. If it's a license, I probably manage it. I'm from a small town in upstate New York, Elmira, New York. I went to Notre Dame High School. And then I always wanted to be a sports broadcaster. So I went to Iona. then college, now university, to be in sports broadcasting. And as I got to my senior year, I thought, I don't want to work every holiday and weekend, and I pivoted. So I pursued my master's degree in sports and entertainment management. And when I moved to Buffalo in 2012, I did a couple odd jobs here and there, kind of like lost my focus. But I was really excited in 2017 when New Era had posted a position for marketing manager of baseball. Baseball has been a part of my life since I was 2 years old. And I was fortunate enough to get that position. Actually, I didn't get that position. They made a position for me in college, motorsports, and soccer. And just a few months later, they shifted me over to baseball. That's where they needed some support. So I've been there 8 years. And like I said, overseeing all the major licenses.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Tranielli. I got my start in college athletics when I was a student athlete at Ohio University. So I golfed at Ohio University down in Athens, Ohio. The Bobcats, not the Buckeyes. Important clarification for me, and it's the only, I have to be quiet when I say my Ohio grad roots are out here because now I work at a rival school. So I do not own any green. I do not wear very much green anymore, but that's where I got my start. Like Jesse, I actually did start in local TV. So I was in Binghamton, New York at the ABC station there and was a sports reporter for 2.5 years. Was looking to get out of Binghamton and was debating whether I wanted to continue doing TV sports or look a career elsewhere. And I had a few peers of mine that had made the switch from local TV into college athletics. And so I took my first job in college athletics at Fordham University in the Bronx, worked there for a couple of years, and then in the middle of basketball season, which is the winter here in Western New York, opened the Buffalo job. I was not concerned about the weather. I'm from Rochester. So I said, so what? Snow. Anywhere you go, it was snowed in New York City too. But I wanted to work women's basketball specifically, and this job offered me the chance to do that as well as to get back closer to home. And so I'd made that move in January of 2019, and I've been there ever since. I work with an incredible team of colleagues and coworkers in our athletic department and some really great coaches and athletes. And so been very, very fortunate to get to know the UB athletics community as well as the broader Western New York sports world.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jami. I'm the Director of Media and Content.
Buffalo Sabres. So our content department is social media, photography, our video crew, and our editorial staff. So any of the day-to-day practice or game coverage that you're seeing from any of our digital platforms, and then some of our longer form behind-the-scenes content my crew is working on. I kind of took an interesting journey to get to where I am today. I went to school at Geneseo where I majored in business management, but I never really knew what I wanted to do. I played softball and ice hockey while I was there. And when I graduated, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I've always said I know what I didn't want to do, and that was work for a bank. And so my first job out of college was actually at M&T Bank.
I worked in the commercial lending department, and honestly, M&T was a great place to work. I loved my colleagues. I just realized if I never gave it a go with this sports thing that I would probably look back and regret it. So while I was at M&T, I took in what they used to call an internship, but was actually just a volunteer position with a women's hockey team that we had, the Buffalo Buttes. So I was doing all of their social media. I was washing all of their laundry. I was scheduling all of their practice and travel and all that. And at some point, PSE, Pagula Sports and Entertainment, bought the Buttes, which is how I ended up becoming a Sabres employee. I've been there for about 7 years now, and I can honestly say that I love every second of it. So while my journey was not linear, it's definitely worked out.
Hello, everyone. My name is Olivia Kincanon. I'm the head softball coach at Houghton University. And my journey also is not one that I had a direct path. I went to the University at Buffalo for 4 years, played softball there, had an absolutely amazing experience, met a lot of great people along the way. I ended up graduating with a degree in communications, marketing, and counseling, and I chose a career that had nothing to do with that. But while I was there, I did a sports marketing internship, and it was at that moment that I realized I want to continue a career in sports. So I had an amazing experience doing that internship, and once I finished with that, I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue getting my education or not, but an opportunity came up at Mercyhurst University where they offered me a graduate assistant coaching job for their softball team. So I wasn't really sure if the coaching route was really something I wanted, but I said free education, so why not? Let's give it a shot. And I stayed there for a year, got my master's in organizational leadership, and of course that is something you can take into coaching. So I finished that, and then I got an assistant coaching job at Duville University here in Buffalo. And again, just really got to take a lot of the experiences from that and really grow and learn and realize this is actually what I want to do. I've had so many coaches in my past that really kind of shaped who I am, and I want to be that person for others as well, especially being in the female sports world. I think it's great to have another female athlete kind of be able to share their experiences as well. So I finished up my time at Duville, and of course, the job market now is not the most forgiving, so I spent 7 months just searching and searching. And again, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go sports marketing or coaching. And by the grace of God, just one day I said, you know what, let's check NCAA Marketplace and see if there's something there. First job that popped up was Houghton University head softball coach. And I said, let's shoot our shot. Let's see. I'm 24 years old. Not sure if head coaching was really going to be something that I was going to be able to accomplish at this point in my life. And within an hour, I got an email for an interview, and that's where I'm at right now. So again, just by the glory of God, and was able to land that position. Here I am now, coaching there, and hopefully inspiring other athletes to, again, just kind of take a leap of faith, because you never know what's going to lead you. I didn't know I was going to be a coach, but here I am, and I'm so beyond thankful that I was able to get some experiences from the University of Buffalo and other colleges as well. So.
Thank you, ladies, for sharing your stories. Growing up, was there any specific moment where you knew you wanted to pursue a career in sports, or did that moment kind of come at a later time? Sarah, you want to start us off with that?
So I think my parents just recently relocated, and if you ever moved, that's just going through. It was like, all right, here's your day, come home and get everything out of your room. You're either taking it to Buffalo, or it's getting donated, or it's being thrown out. And I said, okay, yep, got it. Listen to your mom. So I was going through my drawers, and one of the books I found in the drawer was from my second grade class, and it's classic, What do you want to be when you grow up? And it said, I want to be a WNBA basketball player or a sports broadcaster. So we didn't accomplish the WNBA side of things, but I am working now with athletes who have gone on to play in the WNBA. So I said, all right, we were like 50% of the way through there. And then I did start my career in sports broadcasting. So the reason why I say that is from a young age, sports has been everything to me. I grew up with a family that watched sports, that played sports. I've had a ball, a club in my hand since I was a little kid. Basketball was my first love. I ended up choosing to play golf in college. But watching baseball games, watching football games with our family was a big part of it. So I always knew that I wanted to do something in sports. I never shut up as a kid. I talked a lot. I wanted to tell you a story or ask you a question the first minute you came in the door. And so I had a feeling that communicating with people and getting to do what I love was going to be somewhere in the sports communication world. And I loved my time in local TV. I think a lot of what I learned and developed in those 2 years translates to what I do now. I work with our local media all the time, and I think having been on the other side of that, it really helps in terms of getting our exposure out there. Like, we're in a pro sports market here in Buffalo, right? Bills, Sabres dominate around here, and I've been very, very fortunate to work with some really successful teams at UB, but a large part of that is we've got to tell our story, right? We have to be our content creators and our brand creators, because we're going to be, the first eyes are going to go to Bills and Sabres around here. And so I think taking all of those experiences from my previous jobs and kind of bringing them into what I do now has helped in terms of trying to get, our athletes. My favorite part of why I got into sports and why I still am working in sports. And as you mentioned, it's long hours, it's weekends, it's holidays, it's Saturdays, Sundays. A lot of times when I'm in the middle of the season, I know it's a day that ends in a Y, and it's either a game day or a non-game day. That's about all I can give you at certain points. But what's kept me in it so long is why I got into it in the first place, which is the best part of my job, is getting to tell the stories and the experiences of our athletes and of our staff. It's so cool to sit on a panel with Olivia. When I first started at UB, I worked softball. Softball was one of our sports, and she was our catcher. And now, like, I'm up here sharing a panel with her. Like, how cool is this, right? So I knew sports was always going to be a part of my life, and they still are. And I think it just goes to show you that you have that passion, and it translates. The job might look different, and your role might change, but I think always being a fan of the game and of the people who play it at its core has carried me through whatever I've done.
Like I said, I wasn't the kid who, if you asked, what do you want to do? I wasn't saying firefighter, police officer. Like, I had no idea. I always, in the back of my mind, thought it'd be cool to work for the Sabres. I was also an athlete growing up, played hockey. Looking back now, like, there's a million things you could do in our organization, so that is very vague. I just thought, I want to work there. I don't know exactly what I want to do. And back in the day, it wasn't really oh, I want to work in sports. Okay, but like maybe you should find a real job was kind of like the sentiment, right? So to see how far we've come since then, like young girls now who say, oh, I want to be like anyone up here. I want to work in sports. It's not, haha, okay, but for real, what are you going to do? Like, it's a legitimate path now, and that's what's really exciting.
I think it's really important to add to this because you mentioned it earlier when we were chatting that you have some junior shadow opportunities in all areas of the business. And thinking about your letter you filled out when you were in second grade, I think you think about it from the obvious. Athlete or on the camera at the field, there are so many different ways to work in sports that aren't obvious. For example, do you think State Farm is a sports company? Absolutely not, but they're the headline sponsor for the NBA draft, the WNBA draft, WNBA All-Star, etc. So I've met their CMO, and so much of her job is based on sports partnerships and being at sporting events. So I think not just thinking about specifically teams or sports companies, there are so many different opportunities to stay involved in sport culture that are not surface level. It's important to keep your eyes open, especially all of us had similar paths of kind of diverting and then getting back to sports. There are avenues across different companies that you wouldn't normally think of that it's important to keep your eyes open when those present themselves.
That was awesome, girls. Yeah, so for our next question, were there ever any bumps in the road that led you to think maybe working in sports isn't for me? And how did you kind of overcome that? Olivia, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, kind of in my introduction, I wasn't really sure what path I wanted to take, and I had to go 7 months of being unemployed to finally land the job that I have right now. So kind of going through those 7 months, I think it took a lot of conversations with my family, really figuring out, like, we got to figure out what it is you're passionate about, what it is you want to do. I was doing a lot of lessons on the side, coaching young girls in softball, and just finding that passion, seeing that their eyes light up when something finally just clicked, seeing that passion that I got from them and just being that inspiration. That really just kind of drove me into figuring out that this was the career path I wanted to choose. So if that meant I had to be unemployed for 7 months, then so be it. I'm sure my parents don't appreciate that all too much, but in my experiences, I definitely would say that having that kind of path where you did have to take a few months off to really find the career that you're in, I think it's just absolutely paid off, because I could be behind a desk doing a job that I absolutely despise, but right now I'm out on a softball field coaching girls and watching them grow as people and as athletes. So there's no greater joy than seeing that, and I'm just so happy that I was able to find that path and be able to overcome those challenges in order to get to where I'm at today.
I have a story I love sharing. Can I share it? Great. So this isn't a moment that made me question where I was, but it made me realize how challenging it is to be a woman in sports. I had a manager in my career who I kind of was picking up a lot of slack for him. And we were having a really unserious debate after the MLB All-Star game, the Home Run Derby specifically. Those rules change every single year. It's not a sanctimonious event that people hold dear. We were just having a casual conversation, and he looked at me and he said, "That just shows you know nothing about baseball." And I had been to over 15 stadiums. I can hand score a game. I've been around baseball since I was 2 years old. And my best friend Thea knows I'm never speechless. I was speechless. I had no idea what to say, and I was just really caught off guard. And he was a Division I baseball player, so he absolutely had chops in the baseball industry, but so did I. And he was so quick to write me off in that moment about something so unserious, and I just couldn't believe that he had the guts to say that to me. And he's gone, and now I outrank him, which is great. Thank you. But it just goes to show you that as women, it's not just enough to be qualified. You very often have to be overqualified and quiet about it. So I hope all the women in the room know that you don't have to be quiet about your qualifications. You should absolutely be celebrating them at every step.
That was an awesome story, Jesse. Don't let anyone take away your power. That's awesome. That kind of goes into our next question of, have any of you found it difficult to gain respect from colleagues, and how have you kind of overcome that? Marissa, would you like to start us off?
I guess I would. I would say not recently here, obviously, just because we have so many women now since I've been hired. They hired 3 people that are women when I was first hired. So Amanda, me, and then Allie, our graphic designer, was also. So I wouldn't say here, but I would also just say, honestly, if it happens and you're dealing with that, don't be discouraged. You obviously have all the qualifications to do so. And, we've all had people that don't think just because you're a woman, you don't have the mindset, you don't have, the right way of doing things. So, yeah.
I would definitely say oh, yes. I would definitely say, too, the profession that I'm in is typically dominated not only by males, but also by people who have been in this career path for many, many years. So being 24, I graduated from the University of Buffalo in 2022, so I'm not that far removed. And I did have an experience, actually, my first time out recruiting on my own. I had another coach come up to me and say, I think you're a little young to be a head coach. So kind of hearing that, and again, it hurt a little bit to hear that, but I was also kind of flattered. I was like, oh, so you think I'm young? Great. But also kind of hearing that, it really motivated me because I said, yeah, I am young, which I think is an advantage because I relate to these girls. I relate to these athletes because I just got out of their shoes. I know what it takes to be a student athlete, and it's a lot of hard work. So being able to relate to them in that aspect and being not super close in age, but being relatable enough to understand what they're going through, I think is a huge benefit. So yeah, you can look at my age and say, oh, she doesn't have much experience, but I want you to look at my age and say, oh, well, she honestly relates to them really well. And I have such an amazing relationship with my players. So I really use that kind of obstacle. And I haven't had any issues with colleagues. My colleagues have been the absolute biggest support system I've had in this career path for sure. But just outside of that, using that as motivation to push me to stay here, stay in this career path, and really show them I have what it takes and I can live up to what you guys are doing also.
A lot of women, when they're pursuing a career in sports, they might not be as motivated to begin a career in sports because it is so many hours. You have to work so many holidays and stuff. And a lot of women want to have a family. And some things that deter women from pursuing a career in sports is that work-life balance. What does work-life balance mean to you? And what advice do you have for women for pursuing a career in sports who also want to start a family? Jesse, would you like to start us off?
Sure. I have a 3.5-year-old daughter, and my boss was pretty scared when I told him that I was expecting because we, again, carry over so many sports. I'm very fortunate to have a husband who is self-employed, so he's very flexible schedule, and we have a local family support. So I would say building your support system prior to when you're ready to take that step is critical. I think going into it knowing that you have a system in place makes it a lot easier. I know not everyone has that luxury, but I think it's important to be thinking about that when you're ready for that step. I would also say being willing to give and take with your leadership when the time comes. So there are some trips that I know I can't say no to. I use that in my benefit of I can't do this trip, but I can do the next one. And then I think the third piece of that is building the team that you work with and around to feel empowered to take places when you need to step away. So if you're not building up the team underneath you to be self-sufficient or to be your next in command, you're doing yourself a disservice, because you need to be able to walk away, turn it off, and be with your family when you need to be, and trust that they have what it takes to pull that off. So developing the people underneath you, if you don't have the ability to have great leadership and great support with your family locally, is building your team.
Yeah, I think this is something that, I know personally I'm still working on. We play 82 games during a season. We practice just as much. We're working all 82. We're covering every single practice. We're working, like you said, nights, weekends, holidays, any day that ends in Y, my phone is on and it's on loud. We actually, a couple weeks ago, had a trade call come in at 1 a.m. So that stuff's not unusual. It's part of the job. And I think I was saying to Amanda earlier, you either have to love it or enjoy it, because you can't survive any other way. But for me, honestly, having the support of my family has been huge. I've missed a lot of birthday parties, holidays, things like that to go to work, and every single time they've said, that's okay, go, that's where you're needed. Even when there were times where I was like, oh, maybe I should stay back for this, they said, no, this is what you need to do. You're a leader in your space, you got to show up for your team. And that includes, things with friends, brunches with friends, trips with friends, things like that. And, I can honestly say there's never been a time when I've gotten that phone call at 1 a.m. or we're at the arena just as late after a game. Not once have I said, oh, I wish I wasn't here. I'm genuinely excited and happy to go to work every morning because I love what I do and I love the people that I work with. So yes, it's a lot. That probably will never change. But I think if you go into it with that understanding, that you'll be all right.
I'm obviously on the other side of, I don't have, kids or, husband or I have a family, but for me, it was a big adjustment coming out of college and just going right into, obviously, the golf industry, which is also just as hectic. You're going to tournaments, you're doing all these different things, you're traveling. We went from Rochester all the way down to Erie every weekend, and I did professional tournaments and junior tournaments, but then also getting a job with the Bisons and having to work 150 games, even the away games and the home games. It's definitely just a change of pace, so I had to learn how to kind of trust the team that I built with the interns and just with everyone around me, and then always just some things you had to get used to missing, some events with family or just not spending as much time with them. I would always go, to my aunt's house. We would always spend every Sunday, and then once I got this job, it was just oh, we haven't seen you in a while. Where have you been? And so you see them more in the off season. So what I like to say is that the team around us here is our family that we see day in and day out, and we learn a lot about each other, and we hang out with each other all the time. But then we don't see each other at the ballpark at all during the off season. We're just we have different schedules. We take different times off, days off. So then I see them more in the off season. So it's just you kind of pick and choose, pick your battles. But it's been fun.
Yes. Did any of you have any mentors early on in your career, and how do they kind of shape who you are today as a professional? Olivia, would you like to start?
Yeah, like I kind of mentioned earlier, especially being an athlete, I've had many coaches in my life growing up, some that had a very positive impact, some that may have not had the most positive impacts. But I really think that a lot of the coaches that I had such good experiences with really shaped me into who I am as a person, shaped me into who I was as an athlete as well. One of my first coaches that I had, Jared Conlon, it was someone that even when I was done playing with this travel ball team, he worked with me all the way through college. Like, I just stuck with him, and he really helped me shape into the athlete that I was. He just absolutely uplifted me. He pushed me, but he uplifted me enough to where I knew that I could be someone. I could be an athlete in college. I also had numerous coaches that helped me get looked at by different universities, Chuck Rigetti, Craig Leone. They really helped me get looked at by colleges too. And again, it really takes, when you're a coach, you have to be willing to receive criticism as well as encouragement. It shouldn't all just be one or the other. And the thing I really respected about these coaches was they really made sure to tell me when I was doing something right, but if I was doing something wrong, better believe they were telling me. They were telling me when I was doing something wrong, and they made sure to correct it. It wasn't getting screamed at, telling you that you're doing something wrong. It was, hey, you're doing this, let's figure out a way to fix it. And again, I've really taken the stuff that they have really shown me and built that into my coaching. And I've been thankful for them. They're people that I still go to if I have questions or if there's any decisions I have to make and I just don't know what to do. I'm easily calling them and asking them for their advice, and they're just absolutely amazing. So I give a lot of my thanks for me being in this spot today to them.
I think particularly when I was switching careers was where I had some of my first big mentors. I mean, I'm coming from local TV, you're coming into college athletics, so you have to have a boss that takes the blinders off, right? And doesn't just kind of put your resume to the side because you're not coming from the college athletics world. It's not typical. It's not what is expected. It's not the people that he's hired for all of the other positions before. And so my first boss at Fordham University, Joe DeBerry, I credit him for so much of where I am today. I mean, I don't get my first job in college athletics without him taking a chance and realizing that I had a unique set of skills that, yeah, there were going to be some parts of the sports information world that he was going to have to teach me, but there were things from TV that would translate over, and that there were things that could make me an asset. And so I was able to get a lot of experience with a lot of different sports at Fordham, and that led me to where I am here. And John Fuller is my boss here, our assistant AD of communications at UB. I've worked with him for 7 years, and he's the best. He's not paying me to say this. Our deputy AD, Deanne Keller, is in the back, so if you want to tell him I said this in a public setting, you certainly can. But he's been wonderful, and I think not just in supporting me in what I do on a day-to-day basis, but giving me room to grow, letting me take on new responsibilities, and letting me make mistakes, and then being there to not just clean up a mess or to say, okay, well, let's not do that ever again, but to encourage me and say, okay, let's approach it this way, or let's learn, and to be able to take on new responsibilities. And so I think such a big part of having a mentor is having someone you can learn from, but then also having that person show you that trust and respect to kind of turn over the reins and let you take on some new roles and responsibilities. And I've been very fortunate to be able to grow with and alongside my team at UB.
Sorry, I want to add one more thing also, just on top of mentors. It doesn't always just come from a boss or from coaches that you've had in the past. It also comes from within your family. And I've been very blessed to have such an amazing support system with my parents also. My dad was my first coach. He taught me how to throw a ball. Long hours in the backyard, just learning how to do that. So if you have children or grandchildren, it's a lot of the stuff that you guys do also that really helps shape us. So whenever I had those coaches that were maybe putting me down, I'd come home and my parents were the first ones saying, no, like, don't listen to them. Like, you can do it. So it also comes from within the house as well. So it serves as a mentorship within the house as well as also within your bosses and within your other coaches as well. So that was just another thing I wanted to add on to.
Yes, and I believe you girls are going to be mentors for the next generation of women in sports, even possibly becoming mentors tonight and role models. You're all leaders in your respective roles. What is your leadership style like, and how do you overcome that stigma of coming across as bossy as a woman in a power position in your respective roles? Jami, would you like to start off?
Sure. I think it's actually different for me. Growing up, and maybe you can tell from this, I was never the loudest kid in any room. I was probably the kid that was getting bossed around, right? Not the bossy one, and happily, like, sure, whatever. So for me, it's been more, I've never been comfortable in a public setting. If you would have asked me to do this 3 years ago, like, maybe I would have said no. So for me, it's not been the, she's bossy, the girls are bossy. It's, no, like, you are a strong, confident, capable woman, and you don't have to be the loudest person in any room. That's not always the person who has the best idea or is going to make the right decision for a big public-facing organization. So for me, it's been less about that and just more about feeling comfortable and confident in my own skin and who I am, and understanding that, I might not jump in right away to have the loudest idea in the room, but that I will make sure that my voice is heard in other ways. And as far as leading, I think the biggest thing you can do is to treat people, first of all, with respect and kindness. Treat people who work for you like human beings. They're also going through the exact same things that you are going through in life. And I think empowering the people who work for you, because just like you said, like, it's not a one-woman show. We can't do anything that we do in our organization alone. It takes a lot of people. And if you're not the right way, you're someone who people are scared of, or people don't feel comfortable approaching you with their own ideas. And a lot of the times they're better than your own, right? Like, we have a lot of creative people, and we want to create that safe space where people are comfortable and not afraid to share their ideas. And a lot of the times, those are the ideas that win. Like the crazy stuff you see on TikTok, half the time I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, someone explain that to me after, but they crush, right? Because it's not just about what. I think making sure that you're empowering others is the most important thing that you can do.
I, on the contrary, have always been the loudest person in the room. So leadership has been the opposite challenge for me, is learning to listen. I talked about this recently at another event, is the superpower of women in leadership is thinking about others. And being able to put ourselves in their shoes. I do something with every single person on my team, whether they're a direct report or not. They're called quarterly check-ins, and they report to me. They tell me things like, what's their biggest emotional drain in their position? What's their biggest time suck? What takes so long? What was the highlight of the quarter? What was their headache of the quarter? And it allows me to think about work from their perspective, and it allows me to think about, what does the long-term plan look like for this person? Are there opportunities I can bring them into that they're not already being exposed to? So those are the things I would say about how do I learn to listen. But I would say, using my bossiness to my advantage, is now that I have a team of 11 people, time is a hot commodity for me. So when I started in leadership, I'd be really soft and sensitive and try to kind of dance around the point. Because as women, we don't want to hurt people's feelings. We want to protect them at all costs. And I can't have conversations twice. I don't have time to have conversations twice. So now it's all about being more direct and succinct with the message so that it comes across clear. And that is that fine line of, she's bossy or she's being direct. But more times than not, I have people come back and say, I'm really glad you just spelled that out for me so I could get it the first time, instead of feeling like it was a compliment sandwich, which is really important to do to be able to balance. But there are times and places where you need to be very direct and very clear to get your point across, to get things done.
Have any of you noticed a change in the environment set in your specific roles since you started your journey in sports? Any of the standards or the environment change when you've started?
If you have paid even a little bit of attention to the college athletics world over the last 2 years, probably in the last half hour since we walked in here, something has changed. Which it's good, and there's a method, and there's so many positives that are coming from this. But I think just the college athletics world in general is ever changing, right? With the way the transfer portal is, with NIL, with all these buzzwords that, you probably see pop up constantly. I think it's been a big challenge for anybody who works in really any facet of our athletic department. It's constantly changing. But I think, the big thing in our world is just the amount of different ways our student athletes are bombarded on a day-to-day basis with the amount of different avenues and channels that people can get at them, with the demand on their time. Like, being a student is a full-time job. Being an athlete is a full-time job. And then when you're trying to build your brand and your platform and all those other things, that's another full-time job. And there's real mental health challenges and emotional and social challenges that come along with that. And so in our world of communications is how can we be somewhat of a barrier for them, but how can we help them in those pursuits and encourage them to be their true authentic self and to be the people that, that our fans in this community fall in love with, but then also realize that the priorities are the priorities and you're here to get your degree. We're here to win as many games as we can on the field, right? And to be a productive member of our community. And so I think in our world, social media alone and recruiting from when I was in high school and was being recruited and to now, I tell these kids all the time, I don't know what I would have done. I'm glad in a way that, that I not being recruited and not in college in this day and age, but then also there's a lot of really cool things that come along with it. So I think our responsibilities have changed. Social media is massive. It can be used for bad or good. And our job is to try to tip those scales on a daily basis as much as we can in that realm and to get to show and tell the stories of the incredible things that we're doing at our athletic department. And this Buffalo community, I say it's a pro sports market, but it's just a sports market, right? Like, how much do we love sports in this room, right? Like, we're all here because we love it. And I think, no matter how it changes and my role might have to change and, some weeks I'm doing more of one thing or some years I'm doing more than other, I think at the heart of it is still, as crazy as college athletics is, the heart of it is still, 17 to 23, 4, 5, how many red shirts, COVID years do we have left, year-olds who just want to play the sport they love. And the more we can do to keep that the main thing, I think we'll adapt any way we have to.
I would essentially say just like the growth of your position too throughout the years. You never thought like 4 years ago, here today, that there's just like all these social media sites that I still have to keep track of, and you got to do engagement, you have to do like interactions, how many followers you've gotten, but like the growth and also like the skill set that you have. So like when I started, I had no clue, like I picked up a camera, had no clue how to use it, and then all of a sudden like 4 years later, I within the social media, I still do photography for the team. I learned, Photoshop, like our game day graphics and all that. I didn't have that skill set going in, and it's just like a unique opportunity, especially in minor league baseball, because it's so small and it's so like such a tight-knit community, but like you learn more, I feel like, here, and it's a good like stepping stone to grow into like a position and to get your skill set for the future.
I know we've talked a little bit about being role models and what role models you guys have had, but what has being a role model for young women meant to you guys? You might not all see yourselves as role models, but you definitely are. This panel has been amazing and super influential for our young interns and any of the young women in the crowd, and even people, and even non-children in the crowd.
I think it's a very unique experience because I've been in the red shirts before, so it's kind of funny that they're my red shirts. But it's just kind of funny that like now I have a blue shirt. I'm part of just like learning from them as much as they're learning from me. I always feel like I'm learning more from them than like I'm actually teaching them. So Haley, if I taught you anything, let me know. But it's a very unique experience and a very fun experience, and I'm kind of excited to keep it going.
this question definitely threw me for a loop when I read it on the document, because I definitely do not consider myself a role model to anyone but my own daughter. I think for my advice and thinking about that is always be willing to surround yourself with women that are where you'd like to be, and being willing to open that door, whether it's a LinkedIn message, whether it's knocking on someone's door at the office and asking those questions and putting yourself out there. I think that's incredibly critical. So I welcome anyone at New Era or otherwise to do the same. Like I said, I didn't consider myself a role model until I read the question, so that's nice to think about. But being willing to elevate yourself to be surrounded by those women is so important.
I would definitely say also, being a former athlete, I definitely had a lot of role models that I looked up to, various athletes. And kind of looking back, something that really touches me now is being in the position I am, because I used to be that little girl that looked up to role models, and being able to say I accomplished playing Division I softball. I was cut from my modified team in middle school. So being able to kind of have that experience at a young age and really be able to overcome that, and then be able to accomplish playing Division I softball. I want to take that experience, something that was very heartbreaking at the time, something that almost made me want to quit the sport. It's something that really did kind of shape me, and I want to be able to use that and hopefully be an example to other little girls that might also get cut from their sports teams, that even if you do get cut, if you keep working hard, you can be the athlete that you want to be. So just keep working at it, and hopefully that can inspire some future athletes.
All right, that was all the questions that I had. This has been an amazing first Women's Sports Night panel presented by M&T Bank. You guys have been awesome. You guys are all definitely role models for me now. You guys have kind of propelled me in my career. I want to stay in sports now, because it gets to those moments sometimes where it's like, do I even want to do this? But yeah, you guys have been amazing. If we want to open it up to one or two questions, we've got a little bit of time for one or two questions. If we want to raise our hands and kind of shout out a question. It's a little bit loud in here if you guys want to shout a question out for one of our panelists.
Something I'll just kind of start off with, as many internships as possible. That was definitely something that kind of helped build my resume, was just doing the internships, doing the volunteer work. That helps build your resume and show that you're willing to put in the work, whether it's paid or not, putting in the work to gain that experience, because experience over anything, in my opinion. Just getting that experience, putting yourself out there, meeting new connections. I think that's going to be your biggest tool and biggest way to grow your resume.
My advice to you is to do as much freelancing as you can. So whatever your natural abilities are, we live in a world where you can be your own boss and be a self-starter. So if you're great at Photoshop, if you're great at video editing, if you're great at interviewing, you can be a TikToker, right? So showing that you are willing to take steps outside of a professional internship shows me that you are dedicated to being in this field, even if you don't have a relevant internship. So being a self-starter and finding an avenue that you can own by yourself stands out to me.
Real quick, did you say Flagler down in St. Augustine? Yeah. Freaking beautiful campus. I took an official visit, and I'm like, boy, if they had a little bit more of a tailor-made broadcast journalism program, I would have gone down there. I mean, practicing at the World Golf Hall of Fame. So anyways, first of all, I'm so jealous that you get to go to school at Flagler, because I think my dad liked it even more than I did. So I'm like, man, I wish I went to school at Flagler. Absolutely beautiful. But I think part of what you're doing, you're already doing the right things. Like, you're trying to, attending panels, putting yourself in a room with people who are doing some of the things that you think you might want to do, that you have an interest in and a skill set. Like, there are rude people in the world, yes, but like, any of us up here, I think I can speak for our, like, if people come to reach out for us for advice, 9.9 times out of 10, the person's going to respond to you and like be willing to do that. So I think just try to make as many connections as you can. When I was a sophomore, one of our professors said our assignment, part of our like ongoing assignment for the year, was through LinkedIn or whatever platform we had to try to make, over the course of each semester, try to make 2 to 3 new connections each semester of somebody who knows what it'll be, whether it's for a job, for advice, whatever, you can reach out to or shoot a quick message to ask a question. And if you kind of do that over the course of your career, your time at Flagler, and then when you graduate, you'll have 10 people right there that when you're starting to get involved in whatever you're doing, you'll be able to reach out to that network right away that you've already kind of built along the way.
I believe we have time for one more question if anyone has one. Amazing. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for our very first Women in Sports Night panel. Let's give it up for these ladies. And now, in the spirit of being a woman in sports, I need to run up to the press box and get ready to direct tonight's game. And Marissa has a whole game to work. I hope you guys stick around for the game. We've got a lot more fun in store for Women in Sports Night. Some of these women will be on the field throwing first pitches. They will all be throwing strikes, right, ladies? And we have our drone show post-game, also presented by M&T Bank. I'd also like to thank our great partners at M&T Bank for supporting us in our Women in Sports Night and being able to provide visibility for young women in sports. Thank you so much, and go Bisons.